Hey, it's Tom. Been asked a question about this knife and why. That was the question. This is a rigid boot knife. I've had this knife now for 21 years, and it's been on every camping trip I go on. Larry Roberts will appreciate that because it's even been mouse chewed while I was in the tent, or in my shelter, I should say. So, I'll be right back, and we'll take a look at this baby. So, this is the rigid boot knife. It's made by Rigid Knife Company back in the 80s or 90s. It's got a brass guard here to bump up against the rubber. Now this knife is stainless steel, made in Taiwan, and it's got a 4.5-inch blade on it. I said it's got the brass guard here. These are rubber handles, real rubber, not Kraton or TPE. It's just what they used in them days. Now this knife is loose in the handle, but it's pinned in the back here by this lanyard rivet, and it is a full tang boot knife. Now this knife has been on every camping trip I've ever been on. Okay, so just the other day I was talking to friends of mine, and they're like, why do you carry that stupid knife? Number one, it has sentimental reasons to it. I got a birthday present from my mom and dad when I was 32. And I bought this knife. Yeah, back in the 90s, this knife was $30. I bought this knife because I always like carrying a boot knife. The difference of boot knives are, some people just carry them because they're cool. Some people carry them for throwing. Some people say they're just for stabbing. If you look at historical record, a double-edged knife has been used for years by the Hudson Bay Company. It's been used for years by Native Americans. Yeah, it's not a bushcrafting knife. I don't baton, so it doesn't matter if there's a 90-degree spine on it or not. I can turn one of these into a 90 right here. And they're pretty sharp anyway. So I don't baton. And this knife here, I worked on it when I first got it. It's sharp. I've even used it for hunting a couple times. It will skin game. It will do all your bushcrafting tasks. Of course, I wouldn't advise you to do one of these numbers, you know. But now, if I was lost, I had to get a fire going. I lost my main knife, and I have a knife in my boot, you know. It will make feathers. It will cut anything. It will skin game. It'll gut fish. And it's just an unobtrusive knife that stays in my boot. I have had one occasion to use this in a defensive measure while out camping, and it served well. Actually, I think it was the whole idea that a crazy man came running out of a shelter carrying, a dagger that turned the youngsters off. This is a beautiful knife. Like I said, I've had it for 22 years, I think it is, definitely. And I carry it everywhere with me. It's an option people might want to think about. Because outside of the fact of defensive, looking purposes, whatever. If you're out in the woods, and if your state allows it, because you're not allowed to carry these in a lot of states, nothing with a dagger point double edge. I think this is one of them, but the option, and the reason why Native Americans liked them is not only because, they were at war constantly and they had stabbing abilities, but they could make a really good spear out of it. If you made a spear out of this, you've got a 5-inch blade with this I forget what it's called, but with this part here, you got a 5-inch blade. You don't have to use your main knife, and you've got a jab weapon, spear, whatever you want to call it. That's number one. Number two, let's just say you lose your main knife, you have a backup blade. Or two. Don't forget, you got two edges. So one goes dull, flip it over, start using the other one, and then sharpen it later. That's one of the reasons why, like the Hudson Bay Company, if you look at their knives, it was called a dag, and it was kind of a wide blade. They used it for shoveling, they used it for defensive, they used it for spears, they used it for all kind of things. Not just the normal Hudson Bay that we know of. They had also a dagger that was used by Hudson Bay. Same thing with the Native American Indians. I have a friend of mine up on the Tahlequah Reservation, Cherokee Reservation, North Carolina, that his great-great-grandfather, he has his knife, and it's about 3 inches longer than this one, of course. But this is what he carries in the woods. That's all he'll carry in the woods. Sentimental reasons, I'm sure, but still, once you get to use these and you get to know them, see what their capabilities are, and how much they can help you for this little, 4 or 5 ounce knife, you'd be surprised. So, I showed you the knife. Let me show you the sheath. Remember, this sheath is 20-some years old. There's great stitching on this blade. This is a heavy leather sheath. Pancake style. And it's leather, it's not your junker. I got a nice boot clip, belt clip on the back, and yes, you can carry these as main blades on your belt. Snap closure up here. Take the knife out, but it's so old now that the knife just kind of slides in and out of the leather without the snap open. And put the knife in the sheath. There's no rattle to it. No, there is just a little. But I think that's the handle that's loose. And like I said, it's a very unobtrusive knife. It sits flat. The profile on that knife is nothing. It's about what the width of the blade is, or the handle is. And you don't even notice it's in your boot. I wear my boot knives on the inside of my boot rather than the outside, because on the outside they can get caught on limbs and stuff, going through the woods. But it's there. I mean, if I kneel over and I'm doing something and my main blade is tangled up, I can just grab the boot knife and do what I need to, shove it back in the sheath, I'm done. Same thing as carrying a pocket knife with you. This seen a lot more use than my main blades used to. Now, my main blades were, big chopper type blades. And this rode in my boot for the small tasks. But yeah, the rigid boot knife. They're kind of a collectible now. You don't see many of them. You might be able to find them on eBay. But any boot knife. I have one from M-Tech. It's only a single edge dagger knife. Gerber had them out years ago. I think they were called the Command 1. Walter Knives had the P99, the same deal, one edge spear point. So, you find them, you might have to sharpen them. The M-Tech came razor sharp right out of the box. This one was just a stabber. I worked in that edge for a long time to get it down to where it was good and sharp. If you see them, grab one. They're not only cool, but they have a shock value on a defensive edge, and they also have a practical value that you have two knife blades, not just one, as a backup if you absolutely need it. Now you got two blades instead of one. Alright, so this is Tom. Thank you for your time and patience. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, or not the like button, but the share button. And we'll see you guys on the next one.